Constellation, humanity's last group of space explorers and the main faction of Starfield. But they may not be who we think they are. We're going to cover that and more in today's video. This is the fourth and final episode of our Starfield faction deep dive series, where we've broken down and dove deep into every main faction in Starfield. We've already covered the Crimson Fleet and why they maybe aren't so bad, the corruption of the United Colonies, and how the Freestar Collective are likely a doomed faction. But now, we're finally wrapping things up with Constellation, the last group of space explorers. Before we get into it, if you could drop the video a like, I would very much appreciate it, as it really helps out the channel in more ways than you can imagine. And of course, if you are looking for a place to stay up to date on all Starfield news, leaks, discussions, plenty of lore discussions, and so much other Bethesda focused content, I ask that you kindly consider subscribing, because I cover it all over here. But with that all out of the way, let's get straight into it. This is Constellation. So what do we already know about Constellation? Constellation, an explorer group in Starfield's universe, is committed to unlocking the mysteries and secrets of the galaxy, uncovering what is out there, referred to as the last group of space explorers. We are going to be joining them in their journey throughout Starfield's story, and while it hasn't been outright confirmed, it does seem that we will likely be forced to join this faction, but more on that later. Based in the United Colony-owned planet of Jemison, in the city New Atlantis, we'll be joining Constellation after a few encounters with the Crimson Fleet, as in their exploration, we the player and the overall faction have encountered pieces of an alien artifact, and wish to explore and find more. So far we know of 3 members of Constellation. Barrett, this man here who recruits us. Sarah, Constellation's leader, who we've actually seen quite a bit of, and of course Vasco, who will act as a companion for the player. We of course can see other members of Constellation in this footage here, but unfortunately we still do not know their names. As for when Constellation was founded, we unfortunately don't know, but due to the picture of older and maybe even deceased members being around their base of operations, we can assume that they've been around for a while, possibly even very soon after humans left Earth, as they were an exploration group, and we know that in Starfield's lore, humans first left Earth simply to explore, much like in real life, as we know Starfield will follow a lot of real life history for their game's lore. However, due to Constellation's main base being in New Atlantis, there is also a very good chance that the group wasn't actually founded until after 2161, which is the year that New Atlantis was built. This is all still up in the air, but it's worth pointing out. As for Constellation's overall goals, we are fully aware that the faction collects things and again wish to understand the mysteries and secrets of the galaxy, and we know that in Starfield we will be helping Constellation find the artifacts, which have been teased to show us all of said mysteries and secrets. I've had a theory for a while that Constellation's entire faction will actually be based by a Skyrim mod called Legacy of the Dragonborn, as this mod is one of the most praised Skyrim mods of all time, if not the most praised Skyrim mod of all time, and Bethesda have even praised it themselves many times in the past. In short, I think Constellation will send us off to find many things, not just the artifacts, but other artifacts, unique weapons, spacesuits and armor, and a lot more, possibly even sending us to search ship graveyards of old wrecked spaceships from the colony wars, as we have seen concept art of things like that. However, it has been shown right here that Constellation, quote, aren't treasure hunters. I mean, we could be lying in this shot, but maybe I'm wrong here, maybe not. Of course, this is all just speculation on my behalf. Now with the other 3 main factions, we just about have no idea how we'll join them, but with Constellation, I think I have it pretty much mapped out. We'll begin the game as a miner, as that has been confirmed, and then we will create our character, and then get sent off to work in the mines. We'll follow some tutorials showing us how to get resources and all of that normal Bethesda stuff, when suddenly we dig up the artifact, which is when this scene would play, as we can see that we're still wearing our starting spacesuit here. After which we pass out from seeing the vision, which has also been confirmed to happen when we touch one of the artifacts, and our fellow miners will call Constellation for help, which is when Barrett will show up and say this.
So, you found something?
The new guy found it.
You dug up the artifact, right? That means you saw it. The visions?
He will then explain who he is and who Constellation is, and this is where the Crimson Fleet will attack the mining base, as again we can see our fellow miners fighting in this scene here. Barrett will unfortunately die in that opening fight scene, giving you his Constellation watch and telling Vasco to guide you to Constellation, which of course is when we get into his spaceship, which becomes our first ship. We get a tutorial on how to fly with Vasco voicing the tutorial, and then we set off to New Atlantis, possibly getting into some spaceship fights with the Crimson Fleet as seen here. We finally get to and land on New Atlantis, which is where this scene will play, and we explain to Constellation how we got Vasco and the ship and the watch, and Vasco backs up our story, which is why Constellation believes us in the first place, and why they then invite us to join, and I believe we won't have an option to say no. I think we'll have to join Constellation no matter what if we wish to proceed with the main story. And it is here that Sarah tells us what Constellation is all about and talks to us about the artifacts and gives us our Constellation spacesuit and tells us to keep Vasco for some company, the watch and Barrett's ship. And it's here that we are finally sent off to go and find more artifacts, possibly sending us to Crete. And again, of course, this is all just speculation on my part, but it does seem rather clear that this is how we will eventually join and meet Constellation in Starfield. But my biggest question right now is how will Constellation react after we join other factions, since we know that the Crimson Fleet have been giving Constellation trouble for a while. What will they do if we sign up and join the pirates? Can we just continue on our main quest without Constellation from this point? Or will they just simply not care that we've become a pirate? It is important to note that Constellation's questline is the main questline, as confirmed by Will Shen. And lastly, it has also been confirmed that Constellation's main questline will give us a sort of tour of the settled systems, but that is pretty much everything that we know about Constellation in Starfield. And that will also wrap up everything we know about every single main faction in Starfield. This will wrap up our Starfield faction deep dive series. I really want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for your support on this series. I've really enjoyed making it and I couldn't do it without you. If you have any other ideas of videos you'd like to see from me, please do let me know in the comments below and I may consider doing it. And of course, as always, if you enjoyed the video and the series as a whole, please do drop this video a like to help other fellow Starfield waiters find and enjoy the content. And if you are new to my channel yourself and you're looking for a place to stay updated on all Starfield news, everything from leaks to speculation, plenty of lore discussions, and a cluster of other Bethesda focused content, please do consider subscribing because I cover it all over here. We're also really close to 5,000 subscribers now guys, so I also want to thank you all for that. And lastly, a massive big shout out to our channel members Jesse, Maze and Snakes. You guys mean the world to me. Thank you so much for your continued support month after month. But with all of that said and done, thank you all so much for watching and I really hope to see you in the next one.